Hey, it's Trevor with the etrailer. Today we're going to be talking about the EcoHitch 2-inch receiver for your 2016 Toyota Prius. Being that this receiver is going to be 2 inches, it's going to give you a wide selection of options for, say, like cargo carriers and for your bike racks. And today, actually, our neighbor is using this for a ramped cargo carrier for her scooter. Now, this 2-inch receiver is going to give you 375 pounds of tongue weight capacity and 2,500 pounds of gross trailer weight capacity. I would keep in mind though that even though this can carry that amount, your Prius might not be suited to carry all of that, so I would double check with your owner's manual just to make sure that your Prius is going to be rated for that weight capacity. Now this 2-inch receiver does have room for you to hook on your Clovis style hooks as well as the S style hooks. You're not going to have a ton of room, so it's going to be kind of a tight fit, but you can definitely get it on there. It will also have a 5/8 pin diameter for your hitch pins. So if you're looking at getting just a standard chrome one or maybe even a locking pin, that's what you're going to want to go with. Your Prius probably has limited ground clearance on it, and you're probably wondering if like any of your accessories are going to clear properly whenever you're driving it around. It's safe to know we have 13.5 inches from the ground to the top inside edge of our receiver tube here. So if you have any accessories in here, it's going to be 13.5 plus either the drop or the rise on that accessory. Now from the center of the pinhole to the outside of the bumper, we're looking at about 1 inch. So if you have any accessories that are going to be from the pinhole to the closest outside edge being 1 inch or more, you know it's going to clear your bumper perfectly fine. Now something that sets EcoHitch apart that some Prius owners might actually like, since you're trying to kind of keep the earth nice and clean with your environment-friendly vehicle, it's actually made of all recycled materials, which is a really nice touch that they added to it. It's also going to have a nice durable black powder coat finish, and as you can tell, that entire cross tube is actually hidden behind your bumper here. And I know, speaking with some neighbors, as I was from customer service, they didn't like that sometimes you have to remove the entire bumper support to have it attached. Well, EcoHitch actually leaves that in during that installation process. Now, speaking of that installation, it's not going to be necessarily hard to do. It's just going to be a little time consuming. So if you got a free day to go ahead and put this on, that's probably going to be optional here. Now, all that install is really going to consist of doing is pulling out your rear tail lights, pulling that fascia off, and then putting your hitch on behind the bumper support. Now, if that doesn't sound like something that's maybe in your wheelhouse, you can check out our dealer locator, which will help you find a shop near you to actually get this hitch put on. But if I've convinced you to go ahead and give it a shot, let me go ahead and show you how to get this installed. To begin our installation, we're going to want to go ahead and remove these plastic panels against our tail lights. To do that, just take a trim panel tool and work your way around the edges, just slowly prying these up. As you slowly pry that off, that'll just pop loose. Throw that off to the side. And then get a 10mm socket. And take these 2 bolts off. And then from there, your taillight should just pop straight out of place, pulling rearward on it to get it to come out. Once you have your taillight out, just quarter turn on the bolts, and those will come right out of place. One on the top, one on the bottom here. And then there's this little clip here where your wire is tucked into. Just pull the harness out from in between there. We'll tuck it back in there later. And then your last connection is this electrical plug. There's a little push tab right here. Just push that in, and it makes it easy to wiggle it back and forth to get it loose. But once you have that done, just do that on the other side, set these aside, and then we'll move on to removing the fascia. Now, to get our fascia loose, what we're going to first start with is removing this underbody panel. And to do that, you're going to have 11 of these plastic rivets aligned around the bumper and a couple in a tight slot. To get these loose, you just want to take a trim panel tool and or a flathead screwdriver, and you want to kind of pry up that center piece. Once you got that center pried up, you can sort of put this in between and get a little bit more leverage on it to get it to come loose. And sometimes you have to hold up this underbody panel to get it to actually come out. And once you got that out, go ahead and repeat that for the rest of them. Now with all those rivets removed, there's only one more thing keeping this fascia in place, and that's going to be this plastic screw that's right up in this cavity right here. All you're going to want to do to get that loose is take a flathead screwdriver, place it in between those two slots, and then slowly start to unscrew it. And sometimes you got to put a little bit of pressure in here to actually get them to kind of break free, especially if it's a little bit older of a vehicle, because sometimes the threads can get a little worn out on them. But now once that's off, now we can just pull this piece of underbody out of the vehicle. I'll set this aside and we'll go to removing the bumper itself. Now we're going to go to the fender well. There's going to be a plastic rivet in here that we're going to remove. You might not be able to see it very well on camera, but it's going to just be located right back into your fender well. And that will release your rear fascia panel so that we can get that pulled out. Now once you have those fender rivets out, we're going to go back to our rear fascia. We're going to have one bolt located right here under where we took those other two bolts out for that taillight bracket. And then we'll have one screw a little bit farther down, and this is going to be mirrored on this other side as well. So once you have those two released, we'll be ready to put on some painter's tape and pull the bumper completely off so we can get to the bumper strut behind it. And it does help if sometimes these can get stuck, put a little bit of pressure on to get them going. Now we're going to put painter's tape along this edge here. This is just going to help prevent these panels from scratching each other, because sometimes they have like little plastic nut rivets on the other side that tend to kind of beat against each other. So just start at the top of that line and try and keep it as even to that line as we can here. Now you're going to want to go ahead and get an extra set of hands. Today I got Joe helping me with this. But first, before we pull the whole fascia off, you're going to want to go underneath the fender well here. It's going to be pretty tight, and you're going to want to pull up on these pins. You kind of want to do it a little gently, and it's going to be pretty tight in here, so you have to rock it back and forth a little bit. But after enough time, they should start giving way slowly but surely. Work your way up here towards our taillight. Now that this panel is loose, let's go ahead and grab it underneath and pull it loose. There'll be two connectors. They run to this one here in the center, and you'll just want to work this one loose. There we go. From there, we're just going to take loose these 4 bolts on the bumper beam here. You'll have 4 on both sides. Once those come loose, we'll just put this off to the side for now. And once those come loose, go ahead and take off that other side, which we went ahead and already did. And then this pops right off. You'll set this to the side because you will need to use this later. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these tabs and get them flat again with this piece here that's going to mount up to our frame later. And instructions say hammer it. I found out using a pair of channel locks and just bending it down was a little bit easier to do. You just want to make sure you get that down where it's nice and flush against here. And if you do need to, you can also just finish this off with a hammer. If you don't have any channel locks, that'll go any further than here. Now, a step I always recommend to do before we start putting any bolts in place during the installation is just clean out your hole here. So we're going to go through the back side of this, but for video's sake, I'm just going to show you how I do it through the front. Once you get that cleaned out with a little bit of spray, just run your bolt down until you can go all the way through the other side. And if it gets stuck, you can always rotate it back out a little bit, then tighten it back up. And you can keep doing that until it loosens up any of the debris that's inside of that weld nut. But looks like ours is perfectly clean, so we're going to go ahead and put this bolt through the back side of this weld nut. And then once you get this to come through all the way, just hand tie. You don't need to go crazy with it and get it super snug down or anything. But once you got this coming out to this side, you want to do the same thing to the same exact hole. You want to do it as close to, let's say, like this side of the vehicle as you can. So the hatch. And then that's just going to act as like a spot for us to rest the hitch and the bumper support on while we get the other bolts tightened down. Now with the next set of hands, go ahead and get the hitch aligned with that stud there. Then hold that in place. Grab your bumper mounts. And then get that onto that stud as well. Now you grab one of your M8 bolts, lock washer, then your flat washer, and you'll just thread that into one of the holes on top here. Now once you got all those bolts down hand tight, you can go ahead and remove the two M8s we put in on the back side, and they'll have the same setup. You'll have the bolt, lock washer, then your flat washer. And all we're going to do is flip it around, put it in that side, and then we're going to go ahead and get all of these snugged down and torqued to spec. Now before we get everything buttoned back up, what we're going to do is trim this underbody panel so that our hitch can slide through it. And the manufacturer does give you some measurements to cut, but what we did instead is we just held it up to where this was going to go into place, and then we marked where the hitch was going to hit, and then we're going to trim that out. And then if we're going to hold it back up, and if we need to, we can go back and trim some more. But let's go ahead and get started. All right, once we have that cut off, we're going to go ahead and make sure it fits up where we need it to go. And as you can see, that goes right back into place pretty well. It doesn't look like we need to really trim anything else. We're just going to take a file and get rid of some of this rough edging on the underbody panel here. So now once you have everything torqued to spec, just go ahead and reinstall all the fascia and underbody panels in reverse order in the way we did it. And then once you have that all put back together, that will complete your installation. My name is Trevor, and thank you for watching.